All right, welcome back to the program. Thank you so much for staying with us. You're watching Morning Cafe. Let's shift gears now to Matters Lifestyle. And this morning we are telling you that dear parent, your child's mental health matters. And you'll ask the question as well, do you know that your child's mental health matters, and does it matter to you? And can you tell when something is really wrong with your child? With me in studio to have this conversation with is Cheryl Mageni, a life coach, alongside Dr. Julius Kimani, a counselor who has worked closely with children and parents, of course, navigating these mental health challenges, and they'll be helping us understand how to really know when your child is in the depths of it. So together we'll explore the science, the struggles, and most importantly, the steps every parent can take to raise emotionally healthy children. Karibuni sana to Morning Cafe.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Let's first of all start by understanding your role as a life coach, Cheryl, because we often hear about counselors more and how they come into play when you're talking about mental health issues with regards to therapy and all that. But as a life coach, how do you come in this whole scenario of mental health?
Okay, so what I can say is life coach are the bridges between counselors and the children or an adult, let's say, for example. And then also, we are the ones who create awareness, like we are mentors. So when I'm mentoring a child, and then I notice there's something, I can refer a counselor to the child, and I can tell the parent that this child there's something wrong. Sometimes maybe you're not able to trust your parent, but you can trust somebody else that you have a close relationship maybe. Yeah.
All right. So let's also understand this. You're talking about the emotional, in short, you're the bridge between the child and the counselor, a life coach.
Yes.
Wonderful. It all starts in the mind when you're talking about mental health, Daktari. But what does a healthy child's mind look like?
This is a very important topic that we are discussing today, because a human being is considered a human being because of the state of the mind. You may have other disabilities, but if your mind is functioning properly, then that is very okay. And when we talk about proper mental health for a child, we are talking about a child who has a healthy brain development. You see, there's a difference between the brain and the mind.
Yes.
Because the brain contains the mind. So it is the way somebody thinks. And the most amazing thing, mental health has so much to do with the way a person is thinking. And a lot of things may happen in life that can cause you to think wrongly and affect your mental health. So you can only say a healthy mind is the one that is able to think properly, to judge things properly, even if you're a child. The good book says even a child is known by his ways. The way a child behaves, you can be able to tell whether they have a proper mental health. And therefore, it is very important to have this topic, because a lot of challenges that we are having today with teenagers and young people are things that happened in the past. So as she says, being a life coach, you're trying to, you're a present person helping to mentor a child to be able to face the future. But then they're able to recognize a few things that is not working. Maybe this child has a problem in concentrating, or they have a problem with anger. And out of that, they discern that this child may need help. Now, when they come to counseling, we are able to find out what happened that affected this child thinking. Because the only way to know somebody's mental health, wellness, is the way they are thinking and the way they are judging things around them and inside them. Yes.
Great. So Cheryl, why do you think this conversation is important when you're talking about a child's mental health? Often we talk about mental health, and when we do, we look at it from the adult perspective. And there was a time back then in 2017, WHO declared adolescent suicide a global public health crisis in 2017. But if at all WHO also acknowledges this, then why is this conversation important yet being ignored?
Okay, a lot of times we feel like children are not human beings like us, because it's just another child over there. Like, we usually feel like they don't have emotions or you know. And most of these mental issues that people suffer from, they usually stem from when they are very small. Because you find that this child maybe was not loved when they were young, or maybe they come from a violent family. So you find that they develop even brain issues like ADHD, which it makes this child not to be functional like other children. So I feel like it's important, and as a life coach, when you are mentoring these kids, we are able to pinpoint what is going on with this child, and then maybe you can recommend psychologists or some things like that. Yeah.
How do parents react to this? And I understand that when you're doing life coaching, you have to do it with the parents, because now, you know, sometimes the child does not understand really what is going on with them. But now, how do you bring in the parents to, and the child as well, that union between the two? How does it go exactly?
You find that sometimes most of these kids are usually not close with their parents. So a parent may be like, lakini sinafikiria tu ni mtoto, like, yeah, I didn't think that something like this would affect them. Like maybe the way parents are busy, you know, wanatafuta pesa and all. So you feel like you just providing money and them having a shelter, education, and they're fine. Your presence is not that important, but they also need your presence. And most parents usually don't know their kids are going through these issues. Yeah, so when you just talk to them, pole pole, and then now you refer to them to a counselor.
Absolutely. And Dr. So we talk about mental health, and you say that usually we associate it with the adults more often. But what are some of these mental health challenges that we see are quite prevalent when we're talking about children?
You see, she has mentioned about especially the environment in which the children grow in. And you know, we sometimes parents may not realize that even arguing in front of children will cause them some mental anguish. And if it is a prolonged issue, you'll find eventually that child may develop some coping mechanism, but actually those coping mechanisms are ways to block their mind. So a child may be playing a lot outside simply because they don't want to be inside the house, because that is where the challenges are happening.
Chaos.
The chaos that is happening. And you know, parents may not realize, because in the evening the child will come in, the child will eat. Sometimes you know, we observe children and we think because they are playing, they are okay. Because they are laughing, they are okay. And you know, this could be ways of this child trying to cope. And why it is so important, as I've said, if you look at major crimes or atrocities that are committed in the world today, a big percentage are teenagers. They're actually teenagers. If they are beyond maybe 20s, but if you look at this child, why are they committing this atrocity, like going to a school and shooting, or even killing, or robbing people? It is because they have mental issues that has affected them from childhood. But the parent may actually be saying, maybe this kid is doing drugs because of tabia mbaya. But the reality is, drugs is actually a sign that this child is trying to heal from some emotional issues they went through, and therefore they resort to taking drugs. So as parents, we ignore a lot, and we don't even, if you are to ask parents if their child is mentally healthy, most of them will tell them it's okay. But some of the indicators, you'll find a child crying a lot. You see, crying is a sign of telling you that child is going through some emotional turmoil. And what happens with a lot of African parents, mtoto anachapwa, ndio anyamaze.
Takupatia reason ya kulia.
Takupatia reason ya kulia. But that child is actually stressed by something. And we deny that children have got emotions, that they are supposed to cry. Or sometimes they're not even supposed to be too happy. You know, a child comes too happy, unacheka nini, unajua maisha ni ngumu. So those small issues, we may ignore them, but they are contributing factors towards improper mental health on our children. Yes.
And I would want you to build up on that, Kidogo, but let's hear from Cheryl. So how can parents identify when something is wrong with their child? What are the signs to look out for as a parent? Because you're talking about sometimes, you know, when a child is overly happy, then a parent would ask, what's happening? They associate that with sometimes some say a lot of sugar. Mtoto alikunywa soda sana. And when the child is also sad, they say, I'll give you a reason to cry if you're crying. So what are the signs that a parent can look out for?
Okay, so you find that there are things which usually excite your child, and now they don't excite him or her anymore. And then, like the way Dr. has said, over crying, they're just crying, persistent sadness. You're just wondering, what is wrong with this child? They're not excited, they're not happy, wako tu, yeah. And then also, but when they can be overly excited and maybe they're sad, because even as adults, when you see someone who is over happy, there's something usually wrong. Like the moods are just supposed to be moderate. So they are moody, sudden change of moods. They were laughing, saitu walikuwa nacheka, and then all of a sudden amekasirika. Something small, amekasirika. Yeah, so those are, and then also, what is this called? They were playing with kids, now they've withdrawn.
Yeah.
Yes, now they're withdrawing.
They're in cocoons now.
Yeah, they just want to be alone. They just want to sit by themselves at the corner. They're not happy, they're sad. Yeah, those are the signs that a parent should look for.
And Dr. I would love for you to build up on that, because we know that no child is born sad. So how do they get to that point? And you know, with adults, because you're talking about some adults, even when you're happy, something is wrong.
Yeah.
But with adults, it's the things that we can voice. But with a child, sometimes, you know, they cannot really say what's wrong with them. Then how do they get to that particular point? And what are these signs that now parents can look out for?
As she has said, there's that aspect of withdrawing. Maybe the child was normally playful with other kids,
Yeah.
but now they are isolated. If they come to the house, they probably sit alone and they hold their hands. You know, they don't want to talk. And sometimes they can even be punished by a parent, and they don't care. You know, they look like they are not, you know, like...
Just hold on to that, Dr. But what is the line between gentle parenting and spoiling the child? Because nowadays we hear a lot about, some parents, it's good to gentle parent a child, and some are overdoing it. So what is the fine line between spoiling a child and gentle parenting?
Okay, so the children are not the same. Yeah, because there are some, when ukiwapendekeza sana, now they get spoiled. And there are some who need that love for them to learn things, for them to be resilient. So it depends for child to child. They are not the same. Yeah.
So how do you know that the way you're parenting your child is having a negative effect on how he or she is growing? Because when you're talking about spare the rod, spoil the child, and you're talking about gentle parenting now, how do you know that the way you're doing it is not quite the way to do it?
Okay, so like I've said, it depends with the child, because there are some who are reserved, hawaongei sana, ni wapole. You can just talk to them and they listen. And some you have to not spare the rod, you have to use the rod for them to actually listen. But sometimes you can, is it called dedekeza? So much that they become rude. No, na sasa they are not listening, kusikizi, and yeah.
Let's hear from Dr. the parent himself, because I assume maybe Cheryl is speaking from a point of knowledge, but from a point of experience. Experience now. The fine line between gentle parenting and spoiling the child. Where do we draw that line?
You see, you have to prepare this child in such a way that they are going to meet a real world. Now, number one, you'll find some of the ways that we can say wrong parenting is giving your child everything they ask for. Now that you're telling them that the world will do the same. And outside here, it is very challenging. You don't get what you're looking for. And so you'll see some children throwing tantrums because they've been denied a few things. And a parent will continue and even pembeleza this child not to cry. Now, if you did that in our days, you will pay with a thorough beating. So we find there is that imbalance, especially for people who have been raised by strict parents. They tend now to be less strict. They think giving and giving and giving. They think love is giving. And it is not true. Love is just not only giving. Sometimes love is actually withholding. Secondly thing, you realize people, a lot of parents, what they call gentle parenting, is that they don't discipline their children. Like they will never withhold something precious from that child. They will not even maybe probably use the rod. A child is in the supermarket, shaming you, throwing a tantrum that they want this and they want that. You buy them what you can afford and they throw it on the ground and you still smile as a parent. Now, I always say if it is on our days, the battle would not wait when you arrive home. It will be done in the presence of all that. You have ashamed me in the public, I will sort you here. So we need to have a balance. Think about these children and the kind of a world. If you cushion children too much, you're not preparing them for the world. I like animals. I like cats. I like dogs. I like chicken. You will always realize a certain time when they have weaned their whatever their small ones, they start beating them out or pushing them out. A chicken will begin kicking the chicks. A cat will begin, if they are eating, it will be growling and chasing them away.
Teaching them independence.
Yeah, independence. But when it comes to us as parents, we want to hold our kids in the home until somebody is 40. And he's still waking up and saying, Mom, sujakula breakfast, 40 years old. So we need to balance. And we realize that gentleness is important. But you can also be gentle and firm. Where, for example, you tell a child no in a very gentle way, such that you don't destroy the way they view you, in terms of emotions. But at the same time, they know your no is a no. There are levels you'll have to say yes to some things. But make sure that your gentleness is not about giving, because that is a fake life. You're not helping that child at all. Yes.
And Cheryl, are you seeing a difference between how parents of nowadays are raising their kids, how we were raised during the days, and how is that shift affecting now children's mental health in this day and age?
It's affecting their mental health because but I feel like recently parents are really loving on their children, like they're actually showing it on social media. You see when someone has a child, they're going for their child with a limousine and things like that. So I feel like nowadays parents are really expressing their love compared to those days where parents were just strict. It was just me providing and you going to school, good grades and things. There was no that relationship. Like if something was happening to me, I could not go to my parent and tell them this and this, I'm being bullied at school, or utambiwa where you have to, even you have to fight back, They won't go at it and talk to the teacher and watoe your bullying. Yeah, so there's a big difference, and I feel like it's a good difference because parents now have a relationship with their children. Yes. And
perhaps, like Terry, would you say that, nowadays, this generation, we're hearing a lot of people want to go child-free. But do you think that this has something to do with how they were raised and the traumas that they're now carrying from when, they were kids and that are yet to be resolved, unresolved traumas?
I think all of us, especially for us as parents, there's a time you do something and you can hear the voice of your parent in the background. You actually realize it is not you, it is your parent speaking. And you realize probably you have done it the wrong way. So there is a need for a good balance. And since today we have a lot of books that we can read, there's a lot of knowledge. I remember when I was getting ready, I think a week before my son was born, a guy wrote to me, a friend of mine wrote to me from Dubai, and he said they were also expecting their firstborn. So we are buddies. And he was like, have you read a book on fatherhood? And I realized I hadn't read a book. I was not prepared in any way. But along the way, I began to read a few things. I remember there's one book I picked up by a gentleman called James Dobson. And that book changed the way I became a different parent. Because I was able to understand the difference between boys and the difference between girls. And I was able to know what is disciplining a child and you know what is not right. And out of that, I would say our children have turned out. They're in their 20s now. They have not been a challenge, I would say. But it was because I read a book. So a lot of us are still using the old methods, what you picked from your mother, your father, the society here and there. And if you do that mixture, it may be good, but it may not be accurate. So I will say, I think parents today, we need to reach a place where we can actually sit down and do a few study and read a few books and know. I used to get so angry seeing my daughter every time waking up and she's crying. And I was like, I would pinch her. Why are you crying? I had volume. Naongeza volume. I later discovered that's how girls are sometimes. They'll cry for nothing. And now I learned now instead of pinching her, I would hug her and within a few minutes she would be quiet. So that was something that I read. My parents would have told me different. Uyu chuna na uongezee. So I think there's a need for parents today to expose themselves through study. And as she said, let us genuinely love, learn how to love our kids, but in the right way. Yes.
So the issue of being child-free, do you think it has anything to do with those traumas that the now generation are carrying from their childhood?
Yes. You know, there are people who look at what they went through and they have not healed. And they are like, I don't want to be, you know, they are crippled. And they are like, I cannot carry another person on my back and walk this journey. Because if I do that, I will be wounding another generation. And let me tell you, being a parent is a very sensitive thing. Because you are preparing a young man, a young woman for somebody in the future. If you prepare them the wrong way, whatever they do in the future, it will be pointed to you. So if somebody feels child-free because of some of the things they went through, I would rather be without a child and live a life where I can impact others' generation instead of raising one and creating chaos in that child's life.
Passing down traumas.
Yes.
And Cheryl, talk to us about the age bracket that you see maybe when you're coaching these parents and their children that you deal with the most. You know, when you're talking about children, maybe we say that 10-year-olds, 11-year-olds, but how important is it to start early, and how early is early?
Okay, early is as early as 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, because like I said, most of these mental issues stem from when we were young or when a child is really small, because children learn from observing. You don't have to keep on telling them, do this, do that. And on a two, if it's a girl, they see how their mom behaves, and that is how they behave. If it's their mom, it's also the same. So, but a lot of them, like Dr. said, usually now show when they are in their teenagers, because he said that a lot of teenagers are the ones who are doing the worst, and it's worldwide. So we need to know, like, from when they're really young, we should observe their behaviors, because even the mental issues, when you look properly, unaweza detect when they're still very young. Yes, I hope I've answered.
How do you detect that, Daktari, when they're very young, that, you know, this child has a mental health issue? Because sometimes, you know, there are children who behave differently, but maybe they have conditions like, say, autism. Then how do you know that this child, he or she is young, but kuna shida hapa, to detect early?
Oh, see, that's why I say, you see, like the clinics women go to, those are some of the very important things that should never be ignored, because they are developmental stages that are for every children. You can be able to know that between this age, men in a talker, at this particular age, maybe they should be reaching out for something. Now, if that is not happening, then you can be able to detect some of these things. And also there are many tests that today can determine if a child is having, for example, autism or other disorders. But the thing is, it is also important to understand, you see, for a child who cannot talk, crying is a sign. Too much silence again
is another sign.
Is another sign. The extremes. So if this child does not cry at all, you may be saying, I have a very nice child who never cries. But actually that shows there's something emotionally. And it could be probably the parent was abusing something, maybe drugs, while they were pregnant. So that child's mental health has been affected because we are seeing parents who are doing drugs and children are being born addicted to drugs. So it's good to study. And I say we are in an era where we can seek knowledge and get it. Study how to parent. Study on issues mental health. And I usually say, like for kids who are about 5 years, 6 years, we have said those examples of isolation. We have also talked about crying too much. This child is having insomnia, they are not sleeping. A child used to love certain types of food, now they don't want to eat. They used to like playing with others, they are not playing. They have sicknesses, you know, especially when they're around 7, 8, they don't want to go to school because they're being bullied. They have sicknesses, they fake. And they can wake up even, I remember I faked one time when I was young because I was being bullied in school. And I had come from up country and I could not speak Swahili. So I was being made fun of. And so I discovered I used to have a nose bleeding problem. So the days I felt like I don't want to go to school, I would simply push my nose and I would start bleeding. But it was a challenge that I was having. I was trying to run away from that issue. But now every morning you're doing the same. A parent should know there's something wrong at school. So as I will say this, farmers will know when cows are sick just by looking at them. A driver will know when a car is breaking down just by listening. How can we not even know when our children are going through issues? It's because parents are not spending time. Because if you spend time with a child, you'll be able to know something is wrong. Yes.
And Cheryl, when you're talking about now parents, children, of course we're also bringing in schools as well. And that means teachers spend a lot of time with these children and they might be knowing them more than the parents. So do you also engage teachers when you're doing life coaching for these kids?
Yes, because there are usually counselors in school. So teachers, even they're being trained, when they're in school, they're being trained on how to manage children, how to take care of them, how to know their behavioral changes. And the most behavioral change that one can notice is in their grades. You see their grades just going down. They're not participating in school activities like they used to. They don't like the things that they used to like. So you just call this child aside and ask them, what is going on? Could there be a problem at home? Are you being bullied? Yeah.
And Dr. do you believe that teachers have a role to play when we're talking about children's mental health, especially when now their mental health is deteriorating? Because we've also talked about and we've learned that a lot of teachers also play a role in children's bullying.
True.
But when you're talking about how teachers are being taught how to handle these kids, call them in and talk to them, but some of them also play a role in bullying. Then how do we now bridge that gap?
One thing, I think most teachers who have gone through training colleges, they are trained on how to mentor kids and also raise them in the right way. I mean, help them in the right way. But we don't lack one or two who have also got their issues. They come from home and they are angry and they begin to label kids.
Yes.
Now you can some of the names that the children have gotten being called in school, actually some of them started from some teachers. Maybe somebody has said you are thick, and another kid picks up and says you are thick. And so I believe teachers should actually be so careful because these are people who are spending 6 to 8 hours with children. And it's actually like a production line. You're actually producing somebody for the world. Now, teaching them is not enough, but also being able to detect. Unfortunately, sometimes, especially with the public schools, the numbers of children are too many. So sometimes one may not even be able to know whether a child is going through mental issues. And if there are a child who is aggressive, like, you know, extremely aggressive behavior can tell you a child is having issues. Like we said, a child comes to school and they are seated in class and they are crying. You know, the likelihood of most people will be like, shut up, stop crying, or go out. But I think that is a very big opportunity to find out what is happening to this child. And what happens is that many people tend to ignore, like she said, the emotions of kids. Kids have emotion. They have anger, they have fear, they have frustrations. And if they don't express, they don't learn to express these things, they are bottled up. Later, it's when you see either a kid has gone through the direction of drug taking or becoming violent or dropping out of school because they are trying to express something that is inside them that has not been detected. So I will say teachers are so important. And if you're listening to us and you're a teacher, I think it is very important for somebody to pay attention. Those children are in your hands and you can save a life and a future generation if you simply pay attention to small things. Yes.
Great. And Cheryl, we do acknowledge that also academic pressure also, plays a very big role now that you're talking about schools as well. But how do then teachers and just parents as well strike a balance between academic success? When you're used to getting A's, and then one time you get a C, and then at home you're being quarreled, you're being told, or you've started playing, or something is wrong with you. But now how do we strike that balance between over academic excellence and emotional health?
You can just call the child aside and just try to find out what happened. Why did you get a C and you usually get A's? Building that relationship, that close relationship, and creating an environment where your child can just come and talk to you freely without feeling some type of way or without being scared. You understand? So I feel like parents should build that relationship, like just genuinely loving them, but in the right way. So yeah, you can strike the balance just by letting them, being able to express themselves. Yes.
But actually sometimes it's not even that something happened. When you got an A, next time you got a C. Sometimes masomo imekuwa tu ngumu, But now there's that pressure of education that you have to get that A. Talk to us more as well about that, the issue of striking a balance between academic excellence and also just ensuring that this child's emotional health is also something that you're taking keen attention to, as much as you're paying much attention to how they're performing in school.
Now, we say it's very important to have what we call, of course, positive stress. Positive stress is when negative things happen in life and you don't shield the child from those negative things. Like, for example, poor performance. They have dropped in the academics. Instead of, sometimes cushioning them too much, that, you may probably even patronizing them a little bit here and there, it is important to allow them to go through some of those stresses. Because in life, it is not about success throughout. There is failure. And so you must, as parents, learn how to teach these children to cope up with some failures. Because I have seen students who have actually, like in the past years, committed suicide because their target was 400 marks. They got 390. Can you imagine somebody committing suicide because of 10 marks? That means that child has never been taught on how to handle downfall. So parents also you need to be happy. If your child actually one time comes back home and says he's not getting an A, because that is a time to now help them to learn that sometimes things will happen that will not go your way. Secondly, it is important as parents to keep a balance, because I have learned not the good performers in life, not all. I'm in the education sector, and not all the good performers end up becoming good or successful in life. In fact, I usually say a child who goes to school and they get an E or a D and they keep going to that school for 4 years, I think that child needs to get a reward because they go to school to fail. They have actually learned how to fail, and that's why they succeed, because they reach a place whereby they have learned the hard way that they will never improve. So when they do one thing, a small business, and they succeed, then they feel like they have gotten an A, and they don't leave it. They stick to it until they become the best. Now, on the other hand, you find the A person, and not all, will fail once, and they can regress in such a dangerous way because they are like, I have not learned how to handle failure. So I think we need to create a very good balance as parents. Don't push this person too much. Learn to appreciate success and learn to help your children cope with failures. Because if you do that, you are preparing that person for real life experience. Yes.
All right. That is very well said. And Cheryl, talk to us about the digital age. We see a lot of kids nowadays have, phones, tabs here and there. But do you think that that has something to do with how children now have mental health issues? Their over-dependence on these phones and technology that is available to them?
Yes, because first of all, comparison. Because, a child can see how other kids are doing and the lifestyle that they are living. And then now you're over here, you're feeling like, hey, I'm not meeting up to the standards that the society has placed for us. And now you start becoming depressed because you want some type of life, but you cannot get it maybe because of finances. And yeah, so that comparison, even us as adults, it causes us stress. So it also causes stress to the young ones. And then now addiction, you're over dependent on it. You can't live without it. There's this story I had that this teenager committed suicide because the mom refused to pay Wi-Fi. So you're wondering, is it that serious? Like, they don't even want to socialize with people because now when they are visiting their cousins, everyone is on their phones. You're not talking, you're not playing, you're not, playing games. So yeah, it's dangerous. So I think parents should limit their screen time. They should have time for them to talk, play, because it also boosts their creativity. So when they're always on their phones, it kills some of their brain cells. Yeah. And
Dr. how do we now strike the balance between over-dependence on phone with children? Because now the technology is here with us, they're enjoying it. We're talking about somebody committing suicide because Wi-Fi is not paid for. Then you as a parent, for example, Dr. then how do you strike that balance that, this is now getting dangerous? This is when you need to get a phone. I'm going to get you a phone at this age, and this is what you need to do with this phone. How do you do it?
Let me share my own experience. We have a son and a daughter. They are now 20s, in their 20s. But they got their first phone after Form 4. They would use our phones to communicate to their friends. And we agreed down with them. We told them, this is one thing that will not help you. So it is important and they performed well. And we agreed, after you're done with Form 4, there is a threshold, there's an amount of money that a kind of a phone you'll be able to get. And of course, even when they got those phones, after Form 4, we still sat down with them and we talked to them about the social media. Because you go to Facebook, you're a 20-year or an 18-year-old, you connect with a friend, a man who is 50, a woman who is 40, and you are sending messages and all that, that's not realistic. So we told them on how to navigate on the social media. So what I would say is that what is recommended, one, children who are, let's say, from 0 to around even 6 years, they should not spend more than 2 hours on any screen, be it a TV, be it a phone. But nowadays we see phones have become co-parenters. You put some funny cartoons there, you give your kid, and the kid keeps on laughing. And now kids are beginning to look like cartoons. Even when they're in church, you ask them questions, you see some reactions, and you think this is behaving like a certain cartoon they see. And what you're not realizing, that whatever that cartoon is doing, you're actually impacting the mental health. There are some kids I have seen banging their heads. If they're angry, they say some words. And you're like, where did this kid get some of these words? They may not necessarily be curse words, but they have come from some cartoons. But they are not really, but they are already training this child to start cursing. So parents need to realize that the phone can never replace them. They need to limit the time. Even if a child is a teenager, make sure that you agree, have terms. Like you'll not have, if they are in boarding school, they don't use that phone. So even when they come for holiday, tell them this phone, you will not have it. From this time until evening, you can spend a few minutes on your phone, talk to your friends. I usually say this, if it's a teenager, and they are talking, for example, it is a girl is talking to a boy, you would not want a boy in your house at 10 in the night. at midnight. So when that boy is chatting on phone at midnight and they're in their bedroom, do you know, in the mentality, that other person, if it's a girl, is already seeing themselves in that bedroom. And so it's very easy for them to meet up somewhere and do some things because they have already been allowed into that bedroom space because of the phone they are using. So have an agreement as parents. Put some guidelines. Put some rules on the way to use the phone. Otherwise, a lot of parents don't even know how to limit the phone. And as she said, it is destroying the personal image of so many young people. Yes.
And Cheryl, we can see that most parents of this generation, of course, were not taught to express themselves better. You know, now we are people who can communicate and tell somebody, you know, how what you're doing is making me feel 1, 2, 3. And kids of nowadays are also that way. So how can they learn to model emotional intelligence, especially if they're coming from households where they were not used to communicating their feelings, such that, you know, it will not reflect on their children?
Okay, so they encourage their kids to talk more, but Gen Zs, they are talking. Yeah, you can't limit them because you hear at their workplaces they're saying that, oh, these people are lazy, these people, they're not like us, you know, because there's the big difference between Gen Zs and the millennials. Gen Z, the good thing about the coming generations, they're talking about their feelings. They're not suppressing them. And we've seen it visibly at our workplaces, the mandamanos. So I feel like they are talking now, they're expressing themselves. So parents are the ones who should accommodate or accept how their kids are now, because they were taught to always keep quiet, be well-mannered, sit properly. You know, when you're feeling some type of way, just keep it to yourself, don't talk about it. So they feel like, these kids maybe are complaining or they're entitled, but it's not that way. They're just talking and feeling. They're just talking their feelings. Yeah.
Dr. How important and why is it important for parents to be emotionally attuned? You know, we have emotionally unavailable parents, just like, you know, in relationships we say my partner is emotionally unavailable. Then how important and why is it important for these parents to be emotionally attuned?
No, it's actually very important because outside here, there are a lot of challenges. You have some of the maybe workplaces like the Gen Zs are going to, they have tough bosses. And that guy comes home and he's been called names. So if a parent, is not sensitive and be able to check on the demeanor of that teenager or that 20-year-old something, some of them will just walk into the bedroom and the next thing you hear they took some pills because they have not been able to express themselves. She has also said about parents who don't want to listen. If there is one important thing that parents have to learn is listening without judgment. Because a lot of young people keep on saying, mom does not listen, dad does not listen. To the end, we are so much advice-oriented than listening to what is going on. Sometimes some of these children, they want to come and share an experience of what they went through the school, what the teacher did, or what another child did to them. And just by listening to them, you are creating actually a healing space. You know, we also feel nice when you go to a doctor. You know, most of the times if you realize when you go to doctors, by the time the doctor asks you, what has brought you? And you begin to explain what has actually brought you there, you actually start getting healing. You feel like you've already gotten a solution. And when they start checking on you and they are taking that whatever, they are putting it on, you almost feel like you've gotten the solution. So even as parents, we need to come to that place. If your child wants to speak to you, create time to listen to them. Even if what they are saying does not make sense to you, you just listen. Because they are trying to express something. Then find out what could be the emotion that is going on inside them. Is it the right emotion? And also help them to learn some coping mechanism. Because now when you shut them up you have not given them coping mechanism. Or when you tell them go and sleep, itaisha kesho, it will not solve itself. So we as parents, we also need to teach our children some of the coping mechanisms so that when they go out and they have been bullied, for example, she said, you have been bullied. How do you handle that bully tomorrow? Is it to fight with that bully, which may create more problems, or is it to stand for yourself? So we all need, I will say, the biggest remedy to the current generation and any future issue is learn to listen. Yes.
And as we wind up, Cheryl, I know Daktari has also given an advice to the parents how to help these, children cope. But what would you say to these parents, especially those who are skeptical about seeking professional help, say coming to talk to you as a life coach and even seeking a therapy from a counselor? Then how would you talk to them this morning?
I would advise them to encourage their children to what can I say? I'd advise them to encourage their children to talk more, to be able to express themselves, because they'll be surprised what these kids have bottled up. Because sometimes you can do something to a child and they may keep quiet, they won't say, but it really hurts them. So you find that you'll be surprised, because when you talk to these kids, when you create that environment where they're able to express themselves, when they open up, you'll be surprised. And when you look at them, they look okay. You won't even know this person is struggling with ABCD. They look very okay. But now when they open up and talk, you'll be surprised at the things that they go through. And most of them are from their parents. They usually stem from their parents. So I'd advise parents to be taking their children for counseling. Even if your child just looks okay, you just take them for counseling. And for them to just be able to talk and know if there's a problem or everything is okay.
So it's good to create that habit of counseling quite early.
Yes.
Interesting. That is Cheryl Mageni, a life coach, and Dr. Julius Kimani, a counselor. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for making time for us this morning to have this a very important conversation where we tell you, dear parent, your child mental health matters. And that brings us to the end of this conversation. You're watching Morning Cafe. My name is Anne Odida. Good morning.